Welcome to another episode of the Financial Armor Show. My name is Brad Cooper, the host and CEO of Cooper Financial Investments. And as always, I want to welcome my amazing co-host, Tony Shore. How you doing today, Tony?
Oh, Brad, couldn't be better. Couldn't be better. Here's why. It got up to 84 degrees where up in Minnesota where
That's
I'm
a
at.
heat wave.
It is a heat wave, and it was beautiful and sunny and in the mid 80s with a nice breeze Saturday and Sunday. So I had a great weekend last weekend, I have to say, and got to spend time with the family, got some work done outside around the house, grilled out. Hadn't done that in a while, so that was great. And of course, I'm jealous. You're back in God's country there, Arizona,
Oh,
probably enjoying the weather as well.
beautiful 78 degrees and sunny, not a cloud in the
Nice.
sky, but
Nice.
what's coming in the next few months, not looking forward to.
Yeah, I'll check back in with you in August, see which one of us is doing
Well,
better.
Well, I may have to make a few more frequent trips to Minnesota to the beautiful home office and home studio of Tony Shore and
Yeah.
hang out in Minnesota when it's 75 to 80 degrees in
Yeah,
the summer, right?
it's August is the time. The beginning of
Yeah.
fall, August and September is beautiful here,
You
so.
know, we have a lot of clients, Tony, from Minnesota, and we just had a big event last week. It was
Yes, that's right.
so excited. It was a bingo slash Mike Binger money manager meeting. So we had a luncheon. We had president of Gradient Investments, which Mike Binger
Yeah,
was on our show here about a month ago as a
yeah,
guest. He spoke. Then
that's
we
amazing.
finished up with about a half a dozen rounds of bingo. It was an
Nice.
amazing afternoon of just fun and seeing all of our clients and they brought friends and meeting their friends. So that was amazing and made me think of I had everyone in the event raise their hand from Minnesota because Mike Binger flew in that
Sure.
morning as our
From
special
Minnesota.
guest
Yeah.
from Minnesota. And I bet at least maybe 20, 25 hands went up, Tony.
Really? That
Yes.
many? Wow.
And, I always share this, normally in meetings and with clients, but years ago, when I was less educated and much more ignorant back then than I am now, I used to make fun of snowbirds. I said, why would you want to be a snowbird? Wow. Today, Tony, I believe snowbirds are some of the most brilliant people that you will ever meet. Why is that? When it's 150 degrees here in Arizona in August, September, July, they're up in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then when it's 75 and sunny here in Arizona, they're here. So what perfect life they have.
Yeah, yeah. It does make sense when you put it that
Yes,
way. I mean, they get the best of both possible worlds, right?
they
Yeah,
do.
yeah, and, yeah, I personally know a lot of people who do that, who have a place in Arizona and a place in Minnesota, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I
So
mean, Minnesota in the summer is just you can't get any
beautiful.
better with the lakes and the big state fair we have, amazing events, the people here are great, I mean, it's fantastic, so,
Yep, been
yeah.
up there many times. So what I decided to do, since I'm still young, at least in my mind, even though I feel, I'm going on
You're
80,
young, you don't look a day over
uh,
30.
and I never see myself retiring because it's not work anymore. It's just sitting down and just relationships and getting to
Yeah,
know people.
yeah,
And our friends today, our clients today have been, much more than clients. They're, friends.
yeah.
And so with that said, I think I decided I want to become a snowbird advisor. So when all the snowbirds are leaving Arizona, I think I should lead to a more cooler environment like Minnesota and be an advisor there in the summer and then come back here when everybody else comes back. What do you think
See,
about that?
I think that makes perfect sense. Well, you'd have like 20 plus clients probably that you currently have
Exactly.
that you could see during the summer months in Minnesota. But that sounds like an interesting idea. The only other
Yeah.
person that came close to that is an advisor from Hawaii,
Oh,
Greg
wow.
from Hawaii.
Yes.
He does as an advisory firm in Hawaii and Alaska. He lives in Hawaii, but he
Okay.
spends time in Alaska and Hawaii. But he also has a place in Arizona because he loves Arizona. I mean, he's from Hawaii, but he spends a lot of time in Arizona. That just shows how great must Arizona be if people from
It
Hawaii
is.
want to leave Hawaii to come to Arizona. That's really
That's
something.
right. It is
Yeah,
a great place to live.
it is.
So we're very fortunate and very blessed to be
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
But well, Tony, I'm excited today. We're going to talk about saving for retirement in 3 age brackets. So this is going to be a little bit different topic as far as who we're going to talk about today.
sure.
And really, we're going to talk a little bit about younger investors from like ages 24 to 54 and breaking down the 3 age brackets. And depending on what age bracket you're in, what you should be focusing on.
Okay.
And I'm really excited about, just a lot of great common sense money principles, which are not talked a lot about out there, which you should do. And I've been reminded of that. We're now starting to meet with a lot of our clients' children, grandchildren that fall in this category. And so I just read an article, Tony, from Investopedia. There's an article titled Top Retirement Saving Tips for 24 to 34-year-olds.
Okay.
So, and number one, if you're in that age bracket, you need to take the time and understand the options of the retirement accounts you have.
Right.
Number one, if you're working with a company, the most common you're going to come across is 401ks, 403bs, 457 plans. And a lot of those plans are payroll deducted, money that goes in. And if it's a traditional like 401k, there's tax deductions. Your money grows tax deferred, so you don't have to pay taxes on that every year while you're saving. So it's a wonderful way, Tony, of saving money. And since the money comes out of your paycheck beforehand, out of sight, out of mind.
Right. So you get a tax break on that money up front because you don't have to pay taxes for it the year you earn it, but you will have to pay full taxes on that money and its growth later. But understanding retirement accounts, I would say, is a big step. And a lot of 20 somethings and even young 30 somethings, like you say, don't. And how they fit into your broader overall financial strategy is hugely important. It's an excellent reason to work with somebody like yourself, right?
Absolutely. I was just reminded this past week, Tony, had a young person come in, one of my clients' children, and we were asking, what plans do they offer at work? And they didn't know. And well, they may offer a 401k, but I'm not 100% sure. And then, of course, if there is a retirement plan at work that your employer offers you, do they match? What percentage? A lot of times, I am coming across so many people that are not even taking the free money, Tony, that the
Wow.
company is offering. A lot of matches are 3%, 5%. That's free money that your company's giving you. If they're matching 3%, take advantage of that and understand, the pros and cons to all these different retirement plans. And that's something that we'll spend a lot of time with, our clients and our clients' children explaining, which you mentioned the tax ramifications.
Yep.
However, today, which I'm so excited, of course, there's the traditional 401ks, traditional 403bs, where, like you said, the money goes in and there's tax benefits for that. You don't have to worry about paying taxes until you retire. However, the new thing the last several years and popular, which we recommend a lot, is if you have a 401k Roth option versus a traditional 401k, take advantage of the 401k Roth. So, what does that do? The money that goes into a 401k Roth, in this example, is money after tax. So, you pay taxes on that. It goes in, it grows tax free for the rest of your career as long as you're contributing. And if the company matches that, that's even better. But
Yeah.
here's the best news, Tony. When you retire, when you reach 59 and a half or older, any amount of money that you pull out of that plan for the rest of your life, there's no taxes.
On the principal or the growth. You don't have to pay any
Right,
taxes on money that comes out of a Roth. And the only difference is you don't get it counts as ordinary income and gets taxed as ordinary income when you earn it,
right,
and then goes into the account, but it grows tax free. So when taxes are probably going to be higher in the future, we know they're going to increase taxes. They pretty much have to at some point.
right.
They're at all-time lows now. Then you have that tax-free money.
Which tax-free is good.
Yeah. So that's
And
the advantage of a Roth 401k if your
right.
employer offers it. So you should ask.
You should ask. And going back to the same person I met with last week who did not know any options, they called back the next day. And not only did he not only know that they had a 401k, which they do, they have a 401k Roth. So guess what our advice was? Because we were thinking, okay, young, person who's working, high income earner, where else are we going to direct this retirement money to, whether it's an IRA or some other plan, if they don't have a 401k. But since they do have a 401k Roth, our recommendation, because they will allow up to, I think he said $23,000 a year,
Max it out.
max it out. That's what we recommended him to do.
Yeah.
And of course, that doesn't benefit Cooper Financial. But
No.
again, as a fiduciary, doing the right thing,
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see what he's going to have in the years to come as a result of that.
Yeah. As long as if they don't match what he puts into the Roth 401k, then he should put some of that into the traditional 401k to get the match though, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, take advantage of the free money and take
Yeah.
advantage of any tax-free accounts there may be. And again, and I was probably guilty of this 30 years ago, Tony. I just don't have any money to save.
Right.
Automate your contributions
Yes.
where they come out directly. Why do you think the IRS automatically takes taxes out of your paycheck every week or every other week and not send you an invoice monthly to pay?
Yeah.
They know they're never going to get their money.
Yeah. They'd never get all of their
So,
money. Yeah.
so treat your retirement, even if it's starting out at a small amount, you'd be amazed. And I am every time I run a report because it's based on time, a 25, a 30-year-old having 30 to 40 years of savings versus, our age, Tony, where the difference of what they may have to save, which may
Right.
be a couple $100 a month, we would have to probably save $5,000 a month to get the same amount by age 65.
Yeah.
So they have time on their side.
Yeah.
So, but even backing up,
If only we could be that young again,
oh,
right, Brad?
I know. Hindsight's 2020. If we could go back
Hindsight.
and do
Yeah.
things, so much different.
Yeah.
But just stepping back, one last thing I want to add to the 24 to 34-year-old range we're talking about is look at your emergency fund. We always recommend having a minimum of 6 months, if not more, but a minimum of 6 months worth of expenses socked away in a savings account or a checking account because financial emergencies do happen.
Yeah.
And when you least expect. So definitely have that in place.
Start
And
building that when you're young. It may seem like a daunting task, but you can do it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So another part of the article, Investopedia, is retirement saving tips for 35 to 44-year-old age
Okay.
range.
Yeah.
So now we're getting a little bit older. So it's pretty interesting what the article stated. Number one, you should be maxing out if you have a 401k, a 403b, a 457, whether it's traditional or Roth, whatever the max is, which that changes and increases a little bit each and every year, max that out, especially as you're getting closer to your 40s, because you're just that much closer to retirement.
Yeah.
So that's the first recommendation.
Yeah. I mean, people, as you get further along with your career, You still have time for compound interest to work wonders, right? But you
Absolutely.
want to make sure you're putting in enough to really make that pay off, right?
Yes, and in 2024, the limits have just increased to $23,000, Tony. So that
Wow.
means almost $2,000 a month you could have
Wow.
taken out of your paycheck. And just think about this. If your company matches 3%, 6%, now instead of $23,000 a year, that could be equivalent to maybe closer to $30,000 a year
Yeah.
going into your account. And then, like you said, compounding interest on interest over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years. Gets pretty exciting. And that's why we're starting to see a lot of our clients that just recently retired, they may have a half a million, a million, 2 million in
Yeah.
their 401ks.
Yeah. And I
Just
think
because,
yeah, and I think it's easy for people in this age bracket in their 30s and 40s, Brad, to um get, that's when you have kids, you have so much going on with life, and that
true.
retirement planning and thinking about saving for retirement isn't there because you have a lot of costs with kids. However, I think it's really important to still have a retirement plan in place and keep those retirement funds going. Your kids will thank you in the future for doing it.
You're right. And that's just going to be another opportunity to maybe retire early so you can spend time with your future grandchildren, maybe
Yeah,
once they grow up and
sure.
get out of the house, get out of college, get married. And it gives you more freedom and options
Okay.
because we all know how precious life is, how fast it goes.
Yeah.
And, and then if you get to the point where, okay, Brad, you know, I have maxed out my 401k. What's next, what other options? And there's many other savings options that you can have. Part of the conversation I had the other day with the same person is, the next step is what we've talked about before is which we recommend a lot, is what's called an IUL, indexed universal life. It's a non-traditional strategy, I call it, which you can put in quite a bit of money. Of course, you got to qualify based on your health, not your wealth. But if you qualify, you can put in a lot of money, and that operates similar to a Roth, where your money and gains earn tax free. And in the future, you can take out tax free money from the strategy. Plus, it has other benefits, long term care benefits, death benefit, tax free death benefit. So many different benefits. So that's another strategy, which
That's
I think we
huge.
touched on
Yep.
before, and that's under the insurance umbrella. So many different options. But again, once you do that, again, always make sure your emergency fund is intact, in
Yep.
place,
Yep.
and be prepared for the unexpected.
Yep.
Because I have found in life, Tony, that usually when financial emergencies happen is when I don't have the money. But when I
Yeah.
have plenty of money in my checking and savings, they never happen.
Right,
How's that work?
and then you might make a mistake and use a credit card, especially if in your 30s and 40s, you might think, "Oh, hey, I'm short on money. We'll use a credit card to pay for this vacation or that emergency the roof
Oh,
needs." And then, you wanna use those credit cards sparingly. You don't wanna build up that debt. So what's
right.
next? What's next for people if they're between the ages of 35 and 44?
One last thing I really want to emphasize on, and this is going to be true for the next age category too, is have your financial service professional look at your portfolios that you do have, because we are finding most portfolios are not diversified, you know, properly. A lot of times you may be taking too much risk, maybe not enough risk. Maybe all your money's invested in maybe one or two sectors versus broadly, allocated and diversified. So make sure that that's reviewed at least on an annual basis, because that can make the difference of low returns versus average consistent returns that we've seen the last 20 or 30 years,
Sure.
hopefully.
Yeah. So, yeah, and there's no way I'd wanna manage my investments without the help of somebody like yourself, Brad. You definitely need that. So, and I imagine this is also the time where people would start saving for a college education and open up an account where they save for their child's college, right?
Absolutely, because that will pop up in the cost of tuition, and we've had many discussions off the air privately about the cost of college.
Yeah.
Be prepared for that, and that will start usually in this age bracket.
Yep.
And I know it's challenging. It just seems like yesterday, Tony, I was there. Mortgage payments, car payments, kids. Our kids were very fortunate to go to
Daycare, school,
Christian schools.
sports,
Yes, all that
or
costs
a
money.
private school, yeah.
Then you're saying, "Well, Brad, this is all fine, but where where's the money come from? We're stretched too thin." And I understand. It's taking baby steps and being, going in that right direction and at least getting started.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and, this is important. Now let's move on to the next
Yes.
age category. What is the next age category,
The
Brad?
next category is 45 to 54-year-olds.
Okay.
45 to 54-year-olds. Again, the number one thing in this article is, people in this age bracket are very diverse. Some are newer parents, some are empty nesters. A lot of my
Right.
friends were empty nesters in their 40s,
Wow, really?
which is
They
crazy, but
got
they got
started
started
young. Yeah.
very young. But also, take a look and put together a solid goal for your savings and retirement and see where you maybe need to catch up. The good news is, especially if you're approaching 45 to 50, if you're behind, which by the way, most people are that we
Yeah.
talk to.
Yeah.
And here's the good news. I'll be oh, this isn't good news, but I'll be 57 this year, Tony. But what gave me hope was back in my 40s when I started working with a lot of our clients who now have been retired for 10, 15 years. Most of our clients obtained a big portion of their wealth in their 50s and 60s because they were
Hmm.
behind.
Wow.
They became empty nesters. They realized by the time they got to 50, wow, now we have to catch up. How much do we have to put aside in addition to maybe what we were to hit our goal? We have one of the best reports, Tony, called the Compass Report. Another name is Income Report. So we can tell you based on what you have now, future Social Security, future pension, if you have that, which those are kind of, by the wayside now, what to expect when you retire based on your goal. And if
Yeah.
there's a shortfall, here's what you need to save on a monthly basis.
Okay. So it sounds like this age category, especially once you get close to 50 or in your 50s, time is of the essence, right?
So true. And time is in the essence. And so you've got to take advantage of the catch ups and start being, very focused on what you need to do because life happens and
Yeah.
unexpected things happen. For an example, which we're seeing right now, there's a lot of divorces happening in our country today, which is
Yeah.
sad. What's
It
the
is.
divorce rate? I think I read over 50%.
Oh, yeah. It's well over 50%.
And so a divorce may set you back 5, 10, 15 years if you're not careful with your goals. So,
Yeah.
of course, our whole goal, our philosophy, our foundation, Tony, at Cooper Financial is let's hope for the best. Let's prepare and plan for the worst
Yeah.
because life does happen.
It does.
But one thing I'll strongly recommend, and it's easy for me to say this because I'm in this industry, I've been in this industry for 30 years, but you know what? You need to work with a financial service professional. You need to visit with a person who understands this process. It's no different than me going to the doctor and not relying and not trusting on a doctor to give me the right advice for my health. That's not my expertise. So if you've never been to a financial planner or ever seeked out help, um, it's a lot more relaxing and easy than what you may think.
Wow. Yeah, it is. And I think if you're working with a financial professional, it's going to be that way you don't have to worry. It's taking away that worry, and especially the closer you get to retirement, as you're saying.
That's right. So there's so many different factors, Tony, to look at as you're, in this age bracket of 45 to 54. Another thing I'll mention, which I just had this conversation about a week ago as well. Couple we sat down with, they're in their 50s. And wow, did they ever have things in order? I was so proud of them. We made some adjustments, some recommendations, and they have the a great plan, especially
Mhm.
with the tweaks that we made to be in a very good position when they retire and be in a tax-free position with a lot of
Nice.
their accounts, which again, we go back to taxes. Tax-free is good. But one thing that could interfere and mess up their entire plan, you know what that is?
What's that?
Future inheritance. We
Ah,
started talking about mom and dad. Of course, mom and dad's been retired for a while. Their health is deteriorating. Mom and dad may have been successful. And the question I ask is, are you involved at all, or do you know much about your parents' accounts and what you may inherit? And they said, no. And they said, why, Brad? Because if it's taxable accounts, IRAs, 401ks, you have set your plan up perfectly to be in a tax-free environment when you retire. That could interfere. So
yeah.
that's another thing we're proactive on.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and these are things you do need to concern yourself with as you go through this process. And there are different stages, but you start when you're in your 20s with your first full-time job and you just move
So
on
true.
from there, but work with a financial professional, especially once you hit that 50 mark. You've got to have a plan in place. That's for sure. And not that either you or I would know. I mean, we're
No.
we're nowhere near 50. So before we go, how can our listeners get a hold of you?
Great. You can call our office Monday through Friday, toll free, 888-390-5277. Again, that's 888-390-5277. Or visit our website, financialarmorshow.com. Again, that's financialarmorshow.com. And you can contact us through our site. You can see and listen to our past radio shows and just reach out and ask any questions. We love just to sit down with people over a cup of coffee and just answer any questions you have, no cost. And
All right.
the only decision you have to make after that meeting or during that meeting is, do you want to meet again? If so, great. If not, you're going to walk out of our office with much more wisdom and knowledge than you came in with.
All right. Sounds good, Brad. And listeners, that does it for today's episode of the Financial Armor Show with our host, Brad Cooper.
Thank you, Tony.